Well, hello, good morning, and a very warm welcome to the Andrew Eborn Show with me, Andrew Eborn, and I'm here in the heart of Regent's Park, having been in Windsor for the last couple of days for the unprecedented second state visit from President Donald Trump. And what a spectacular event it was. The pomp, the ceremony, it was all laid out to impress the Donald. And hopefully he is impressed, because today is an important day. Over in Chequers, they're going to be looking at the deals that can now be done. We've had the pomp and the ceremony, the pageantry. It's now time for the politics. And he'll be making his way to Chequers. He's currently having breakfast with His Majesty. And be interesting to see what happens today. Keir Starmer and other things on the agenda, not least of which is obviously the big tech deal, as predicted. We had the tech giants over here, Sam Altman, OpenAI. We also had people from Nvidia, from various other companies pledging to invest billions, literally billions, into the UK. It's going to be a really good message. Expect more details about that. We're also, obviously, the other hot topics is be about freedom of speech. Jimmy Kimmel's just been cancelled because of his comments about the murder of Charlie Kirk, the appalling murder of Charlie Kirk. We've spoken about that before on the show. And what are your views on that? Let me know. Should Jimmy Kimmel have been cancelled? Free speech is obviously going to be on the agenda. And we had the big rally at the weekend with Tommy Robinson and the zillions, let me put it that way, of people on the streets. You see the footage yourself. You can work out just how many people you think that was. We're coming up here. The reason I brought you this way in Regent's Park, this is my hood, as they say. This is where the president stays when he comes to London. This is Winfield House. Security is up there already. Last time I was here, there were lots of protesters outside. Nothing today. It's incredibly quiet. And even when I was in Windsor, there weren't that many people. One of my favourite signs from last time, from the 2019 visit, when we had the state visit then, was "We will overcome." There we go, clever stuff. The pun is mightier than the sword. Anyway, this is Winfield House. All fenced off at the moment. Morning. All quiet today, isn't it? Yeah. So this is Winfield House. It's all fenced off. This is where the president stays when he is in London. Be interesting to see just how close we can get to that. There are no protesters here. There are a lot of police, big police presence. And it's right by the central London mosque. I think that's as far as we can get in terms of Winfield House at the moment. It's where the president stayed on his first day here in London, before making his way down to Windsor Castle, where he spent last night after that glorious white tie state banquet. Lots of talk about the menu and the pageantry involved, and the gold plates. I call them gold plates because the great thing about gold, it looks fantastic, but as soon as you put anything on it, it gets cold very, very quickly. But it's not about that. It's all about the ceremony, the wonderful speech that they made, cementing our very special relationship. And what's clear is we really wanted to make President Trump feel very welcome here. And whatever people's views politically, the reality is commercially, we need to do deals. We need to make sure that economically things make sense. And the announcements today about the investment in tech and the various other things which will be announced very, very shortly is key. And I think this is what we need to do, get the billions invested in the UK. The devil is always in the detail. But as you know, I speak around the world about technology, the importance of technology, putting the AI into Britain, back to the futurist. And that's what we've been looking at. We've been looking at special ways that we can enhance our presence here. So we punch way above our weight here in the UK. We had the very first AI Safety Summit That was in the UK, and held at Bletchley Park, the famous place. This is, I say, the central mosque. We have it all here, so right by the American ambassador's home you have the central mosque. Regent's Park has a number of embassies and important residents, not least mine, just around here. It's a glorious walk of the morning. But what's interesting, there's not one single protester. And I always say we should question everything. Look at the stats, look at the figures, look at how it's being portrayed in the media. And when I was down in Windsor, I had the joy of broadcasting, as always, on more platforms than Paddington, including for our good friends in Sky News Australia, where I do a regular segment on the Power Hour with Gabriella Power. Brilliant to join her on a regular basis, and we talked about all sorts of things, not just about Trump's visit, but also about Prince Harry. He's been in the UK, delighted to see that he was reunited with his father. They had, it was less than an hour, but they got together, which was really important. A cup of tea. They talked about building the bridges. And what Harry said is that his focus now is going to be on his father. And hopefully Archie and Lilibet will also get to see their grandfather. It's so important. So we'll be looking at that sort of side as well. And all that will unravel. He also said he had no regrets. His conscience was clear regarding Spare. What he said is that it's very important that he wanted to set the record straight. So it wasn't about airing his dirty laundry in public. It really was just about setting the record straight. Truth is the only mistress. And as I always say on the Andrew Eborn show, the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's so important, and it's not a multiple choice. But we'd urge everybody to question everything. The other big event, obviously, this week was the Free Speech Festival. I was down there, had a backstage pass, had a chance to interview a lot of the key people there. And it really was a very positive message encouraging free speech. And if free speech means anything, it means the right for people to speak, even if there are views which are abhorrent. You need to look at that side, as long, and the point I always make, as long as it's within the law. We shouldn't have incitement to violence, or we shouldn't have defamation. But if it makes people think about things and to question everything, then I think that's key. And I always urge people that whatever you're doing, try and get your news from as many different sources as possible, because it's between all of those that you actually get the truth. I'm walking you along here just to give you the sort of lay of the land. This is St John's Wood. It's just up there. And this walled bit is a slightly detoured route because, as I say, Winfield House is cordoned off at the moment, even though the president's not there at the moment. He's down in Windsor Castle, having had a glorious night. Actually, it was a really busy day. They arrived in the morning by the helicopter which came from Winfield House, and he then was met, had a glorious ride, all of it away from the main crowds, but he had a glorious ride up to Windsor Castle, where he was greeted by Prince William and Princess Catherine before being introduced to the King and the Queen. All sorts of pomp and pageantry was laid out. He had a ride in a carriage around the estate to have a look at that sort of side. They then had a luncheon, and also subsequently a visit to St George's Chapel, where the President laid a wreath for Her Majesty, the late Queen Elizabeth. And he said he had a very special relationship with her. You might remember that the previous state visit in 2019, that was with Queen Elizabeth. And this time was even better, I think, for the President. He had even more pomp and ceremony, the biggest in history, they say. We then, throughout the afternoon, had various things. We had the Red Arrows. It was on-off. I was originally told that they was going to be cancelled, but actually they did have the Red Arrows. Took some people by surprise. And some of the things were cancelled. Some of the planes, the American planes, were cancelled because the fog, the weather conditions were not quite as good as they could have been, and therefore we wouldn't have been able to see that. I presume it was a visibility issue. And so that didn't happen. But there were lots of people on the streets. We didn't get to see Trump himself because that was all within the walls of Windsor Castle, the oldest fully functioning castle in the world in terms of royalty staying there, and they use that very regularly. Then in the afternoon, more pomp and ceremony. Prince Charles and President Trump continuing to secure our very special relationship. And then in the evening, we had the white tie state banquet, and wonderful scenes have now emerged. We've seen the speeches, we've seen the talk about the special relationship, all of that sort of side. Again, look, here we are. This is normally open, but this footpath and the bridge is closed. This is putting this into perspective where Winfield House is. And even though the president's not there, the security issues are still the same. You can have a look. Here's the map of Regent's Park. You can see where we are, and it just shows you there's Queen Mary's Gardens. That's the boating lake where we were at the beginning. And you are here. There you go. You are here. And there's Winfield House just there. And it's got one of the largest gardens other than Buckingham Palace in London. So, but again, that's shut off at the moment. But let me see if I can walk you down this way. We'll find another route. Everything's possible, you know. This is the dedication with which I try to look after you here on the Andrew Eborn show. It's got to be good. But this is one of my normal morning walks. It's, I say, one of the greatest things about London. There is so much to do, and all the people coming here, it is the best city, without doubt, the best city in the world. I travel extensively, visit many people around the world and have fantastic time. But this is home, and this is what we love about the UK. London showing off at its best. As we remember when we had the Olympic Games, Boris Johnson always used to famously say it's the only country in the world which could greet anybody from anywhere in the world with somebody from their own country, in their own tongue, with their own culture. It's all celebrating that diversity. But it's very important. That's the sort of legal side about the integration. The illegal side is the biggest, hottest issue on immigration and illegal immigration. And it's one of the issues that obviously is being hotly debated around the world. And we need to talk about it. It's not racist to talk about it. People are concerned. And I think treat everybody with respect, absolutely. And I often cite when people talk about the small boats and the terrible things that happen. It's actually the real focus should be these gangs. We have to stamp out the gangs who are basically preying on the vulnerable to bring them over here. And I often reference an excellent movie called I Capitano, which gives a different perspective. It gives it from the immigrant's point of view, often coming from very troubled places, and how they're exploited along the way. And that needs to be looked at. Behind every story there is a human story. But you look at most of the people on the boats, they're not the women and the children. They are, as they often say, men of fighting age. And whilst the rhetoric might be inflammatory, I think you need to let the facts speak for yourselves and themselves, and then work out. That's why I say question everything. But do look at that. We need to deal with this. We need a solution. If you stop the UK being attractive to come here for people illegally, then you could help reduce that. The key is exactly that. But deal with it in a humane way, deal with it in a firm way, because then we get a positive result. And I think that's absolutely key on that premise. The other thing we need to look at is obviously the economy at the moment. It's a big focus again here in the UK, is how do we deal with the various aspects of the economy, not least the investment. And people always say change, and Starmer and every politician promises change. Well, I say in response that the change that people want is the change in their pocket. I'm going to take you up here. Let's have a look, a bit of a climb. Let's see. There you go. It's all right, because we can try and see if we can see the other entrance to Winfield House and just how much is blocked off. Because I think that's important. So that's what we need to look at, the economy, and that's going to be on the table. I was going to go up to Chequers today, It was good to see many of my broadcast friends were there yesterday. So many different media that you can check out the videos. Many people behind the scenes having a look at what they've been up to and their coverage of Trump's visit. As I say, there were only minor protests, and not huge numbers that some people have reported. A few vocal people, but again, I took some footage of that, so you can check that out on the Andrew Eborn Show. And let's have a look. Over here, we're crossing the bridge. So it looks as though this bit is at least accessible, but it shows you the other part of the park. And as I say, Winfield House. I had the pleasure of going to Winfield House and I've been to events there. A fantastic place. But it is where all of the presidents stay when they come over here. And very convenient too. You can get to most places by helicopter in a very short space of time. Windsor's not so far away. It's actually very quick by train as well. You can do the whole journey in less than half an hour. Obviously, helicopter's a bit more convenient, but also significantly quicker. So a great base on that sort of basis. What's interesting, there's nobody, no protesters. Still got the fence around here. And that's always interesting. I'll see if I can take you a little bit closer. Let's have a look over here like this. As I said, the president's not expected to be here, and he's not expected, even though he's the president of surprise. Nothing, there you go, and that's Winfield House all the way down there, but closed off. How long are they keeping security up here for? Because he's not coming back, is he?
Well, quite a long time. It'll
Probably
be
for the rest of the day.
For the rest of the day?
Yeah.
But he's going Checkers straight home, isn't he? You don't know? You don't. Okay, he knows. Danny here, nice to see you, take care.
Have a great day.
Thank you. There you go, straight from the horse's mouth. They don't know what's happening, but I think I can tell you. I think it's most likely from Checkers. They still got security there for most of the day. But this is Regent's Park. If you are coming to London, if you don't know it, do pop in to Regent's Park. Come and say hello. Oh, well, you can say hello virtually anytime. It's got to be good. But this is where a lot of people around the park. It's one of the best parks in London, if not the best park. We have the theatre here, we have the Japanese garden, we also have Regent's Park Zoo, one of the most famous zoos in the world. I remember as a child coming to Regent's Park Zoo, and we used to see the elephants. They no longer have elephants, and I think that's probably right actually, because they need big enclosures for elephants, and you have a number of reports that if animals are not kept in good conditions, they get obviously very sad. But so the focus for the zoo now is all about conservation breeding programs. They've got some wonderful tigers here, for example. And one of the great things that my mother used to love was animals. She absolutely adored animals and rescued many. And so in her honour, we sponsored a bench just by the tiger enclosure at Regent's Park Zoo. So if you do go and pop that, you can pay your respects to Valerie Eborn, my mother, my wonderful mother, who loved animals and rescued many, which is a good sign in this day and age. Obviously, animals are key. They have, even at Downing Street, they have Larry the cat, who a permanent resident there, and they do dominate politics and the pets. I think it's an interesting segment. You can judge a lot of people by what they do with their animals. If you've got animals yourself, let me know about yours. People, they're always family members, and when people lose their pets, they get devastated in the same way as they would do in losing any family member. Anyway, so that's the zoo here. Great, a number of animals. I've given you tours of the zoo before. You can check that out on the Andrew Eborn Show. And once you are tuned in, don't forget you can subscribe to the Andrew Eborn Show. It is completely free. You can press that subscribe button now. If you fancy, you can also become a member. You'll have exclusive access to a number of interviews before a lot of people. We're also going to be organising a number of events. You'll get to hear those first, take you behind the scenes of these major events in London and around the world. So do join me for that. You can also follow me at Andrew Eborn, at Octopus TV on more platforms than Paddington, as we always say. And here we are. This is the northern bit of the park. I'll take you down here and through the zoo so you can get a good measure of what everything is. Again, this is another part of the park. These are the playing fields. It's called the Hub, and they have a number of sporting events here, from rugby to football to various other sports which people can use as their big playing fields. So they all say that the parks in London are the lungs of London. And we've had a number of major events here, festivals, from food festivals to the Freeze, all takes place in London as well. And also in Hyde Park, a number of major concerts have taken place. So London is being used to the full, and if you've not yet come, so now's the opportunity. Do book that ticket. It's interesting at the moment because so many people are just after the holiday season. Now's the time to do it. School holidays have finished. Flights and accommodation is a bit cheaper, but it's all worthwhile. And as I say, you've had a number of the major events. So we had the Free Speech Festival at the weekend, where zillions of people took to the streets to say, look, you should be policing the streets, not our tweets. We need free speech within the confines of the law, but also the ability to question everything. And I think so often with stories, people approach it with their own prejudices, and that's wrong. You need to be able to say, look, let's get the facts. I always say, and people say, oh, why have you spoken to such and such a person? So, well, that's key. You've got to hear what they say. You don't necessarily mean you're an apologist for what they say, but you hold their feet to the fire. You listen to what they say. You can then judge for yourself, rather than getting somebody else to tell you this is what they think. So that's very key. For me, it's very, very important. And I think a number of people have pointed out to me, I've had the privilege and indeed honour of appearing on lots of different platforms around the world. And people say, look, don't waste that opportunity, because there is a voice. And so often in this world, we're so keen on just getting clickbait as opposed to hunting out the real story. Let's try and get to the truth, because it is so essentially important to have a look at that side. The truth, as I say, is my only mistress. And if you've got comments, you've got views, do let me know. I want to make sure as many different voices are represented. And I think we live in a very divided age. I've been invited to present and host at the Peace Festival in New York. That's coming up at the weekend. And on behalf of Phoenix 360, we've got a brilliant artist called Prince Parker, who's one of, it's very reminiscent, everybody will say, of Jimi Hendrix. And a lot of people say that, but actually watch him, have a look at that side. An incredible artist. I'm going to be in New York in a couple of days. I go there fairly regularly. Here's the zoo. One hump or two. Well, we've got a few camels here. There you go. Morning. And over there, you can sometimes see them, is actually the tiger cage, tiger enclosure I was talking about. You can sometimes see them perched on there. I can't see them today. A few people in the zoo. But again, it's very quiet. It's really strange at the moment. I think I was expecting far more people than are here at the moment, but interesting. So that's coming up. As I say, I should be back in New York, and Phoenix 360. I've been appointed as the strategic advisor, international strategic advisor, looking at all sorts of relationships. And basically what that does, if you're an artist, it's looking at ways that you can generate more revenue, a fairer share of that revenue. And the way that that's done is by connecting directly to the fans. So everybody you can download the app, you can do it, it's free, do that as well. Download the app, have a look, have a play. You create your own site, and then you can do everything from merchandising to collecting your own royalties to telling your fans about gigs coming up. And obviously the great thing about it, you've got particular areas, so you can geolocate. You can say, look, your fans are based here. You can tell the fans directly that you've got an event coming up, and you can engage in that particular way. So there's all sorts of extra things, all sorts of revenue streams that are opened up as a result of it, with streaming rights and sales of merchandise and tickets, and generally just connecting to the fans. So it's Phoenix, Finex 360. Do check that out. As I say, I've been traveling the world with them, doing all sorts of deals. So obviously in America and Australia, I've got some good friends in Japan, and I've had the joy of working in Japan for several years. So we've been looking at that side as well. And anywhere around the world, if there are territories you think that could benefit, do get in touch with me, and I can introduce you. We can set things up, which is what we're going to do. But as I say, that's what I'm going to be doing in the next few days. I'll be back in New York, so good they named it twice. And I love it there. The people are so friendly, great atmosphere. I'll be down in Times Square for the Peace Festival, and that's what we all long for. Any side that people have at the moment, there are always two sides, at least, to every story. And personally, we live in such a divided world. Anything that can deal with that division, get rid of the misrepresentation, get rid of the conflicts in this world, has got to be good. And of course, there's the political side, but the general people, every death that's lost, every person that's lost, every family is deprived of somebody. It's a tragedy, and I think we need to look at that. We all work towards peace. Give peace a chance, as somebody so wisely said. John Lennon, obviously, famously, in New York. So if you do have suggestions, continue the dialogue, but let's do this. The problem with social media, it's just an increased rhetoric, and I see even the comments. So when I talk about different events that are going on and so on and so forth, people may not even look at the event, they may not even watch the videos that we did. Shame on them. What they do, they just look at the headlines and say, oh, you're talking to such and such a person, he's a racist, or he's a fascist, or you just bandy all those labels around. And the trouble is, what that does is devalue the actual work that's been done to stamp out racism and sexism and homophobia and so on and so forth, where you should rightly call it out where it exists. But just slapping a label on somebody because you disagree with their views has got to be wrong. We need to encourage dialogue. It's jaw, not war. And that's the tragic thing about Charlie Kirk and the murder that happened whilst he was in Utah. All he ever wanted to do was to increase the dialogue. Tell me I'm wrong. You know, that's got to be good, hasn't it? If you can turn around and say, let's talk about things. Jaw, not war. He abhorred violence, as indeed do I. It's not about fighting, it's about discussion. We need to work out the divisions, why people hold certain views. And I would really urge people, really urge people, that whatever your views are, try to keep an open mind, share those views and the reasons for them. I've had my eyes opened on all sorts of events merely by talking to people. That's one of the privileges that I've had on the Andrew Eborn show. We've had the great and the good from all sides with all different views. Between them, it's trying to find, if you like, that middle ground, and that's what we're looking at on the Andrew Eborn show, is looking at the middle ground, if you like, a better understanding. They always say, look, walk a mile in my moccasins and you'll have a better understanding of my view of the world. So that's what I would encourage. And you certainly walked more than a mile in my moccasins this morning. I thought I'd give you a very good outline of where we are in Regent's Park, where Winfield House is, where the President normally stays. You've seen the security. You've heard directly from the police involved that security is going to stay up for a little while, even though I don't believe the President's coming back today. But also, you've seen directly, there are no protests here. And yes, there might be somewhere else, and we should listen to other people's concerns and so on and so forth. But certainly around Winfield House, it's incredibly quiet at the moment. So listen, it's been a joy having you join me on the show. Thank you, as always. If you haven't done so yet, do click that subscribe button, and you can join me and look at fantastic interviews. We've had everybody from Elon Musk to Charles Spencer, to the great and good of industry. We did the very first interview with Tommy Robinson, and his son was the cameraman when he came out of jail, looking like Tommy Robinson Crusoe. He had that very bushy beard and long hair, but basically what it was, as his son said, the most emotional and raw interview he's ever given. Do check that out and let me know your views on that. I think it to be a good starting point, working without the sort of prejudices there. But also check out the other things like that. All sorts of people, great and good in the entertainment industry, titans of trade, politicians, people from every walk of life, as also a number of clips from my several appearances around the world on more platforms than Paddington. But it's been a joy being with you. Thank you as always. Do click that subscribe button now and follow me at Andrew Eborn at Octopus TV. Until next time, be good, be safe, and question everything.